Okay, you can begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ria Manik Chan, and I'm excited to be presenting alongside my group members Kelly Ali and Chanel Samuel. Together, we'll be guiding you through Chapter 4 of Understanding Yourself from the Exploring Leadership textbook. This chapter is essential because it addresses how understanding ourselves, our values, beliefs, and personal preferences directly impacts our effectiveness as leaders. As a team, we've explored how these concepts shape our leadership style and help us build meaningful and ethical relationships. Next slide. As we dive into this topic, I invite you to reflect on some common scenarios. Perhaps you've had a brilliant idea in a meeting but hesitated to share it, or you've been the person others turn to for advice. Maybe you've struggled with procrastination or felt frustrated by frequent changes in plans. These moments offer valuable insights into our personal traits and preferences, revealing a lot about who we are and how we interact with the world. Next slide. Throughout this session, we'll encourage you to continue reflecting on our experiences as we explore self concept, self esteem, and the ways our personal identity influences how we lead. Identifying how these insights shape personal identity, motivations, and leadership styles. Cultivate self awareness for personal growth and authentic leadership. Navigating ethical conflicts with confidence and leading with authenticity and inspiring others. Let's begin this journey of self awareness and leadership together. And we hope that by the end of this chapter, you'll feel both empowered and equipped to grow as authentic leaders. Next slide. Our first topic will be on development of self for leadership. Before we dive into the connection between self awareness and leadership, I'd like you all to take a moment to reflect. What do you believe is the most significant challenge in truly understanding yourself? And how might overcoming this challenge influence your effectiveness as a leader? Next slide. To kick off our exploration of self awareness, let's consider a familiar story: The Returns of Jedi. In this film, Luke Skywalker, eager to learn from the legendary Jedi Master Yoda, is essentially disappointed when Yoda doesn't share grand secrets or special techniques. Instead, Yoda guides Luke on an inward journey, teaching him to trust and harness his own internal strength to achieve seemingly impossible feats. This inward journey mirrors what we'll discuss today. Just as Luke's adventure with Yoda led him to discover his own capabilities and limitations, our path to effective leadership begins with self awareness. Next slide. Understanding our strengths and weaknesses, as Kevin Paniker, a participant in the Banner Scholar Community Service Program at the University of Richmond and a member of the South Asian Student Alliance, quoted that it is of great importance to recognize one's strengths and weaknesses because only then can one realize one's capability and limitations. Recognizing capacity allows leaders to commit themselves in such a way as to utilize their capabilities. Recognizing limitation allows for humility and an acknowledgement that leaders cannot succeed at everything. Next slide. Warren Bennis, an American scholar, organizational consultant, and author, widely regarded as a pioneer of the contemporary field of leadership studies, highlights that self-knowledge is something we must ultimately discover for ourselves. He outlines key lessons for developing self-awareness. There are 4 lessons. 1. You are your own best teacher. Trust your experience and insights to guide your strength. 2. Accept responsibilities and blame no one. Own your choices and their outcomes to foster accountability. Third lesson, you can learn anything you set your mind to. Embrace a growth mindset, believe in your capacity to improve. And lastly, true understanding comes from reflecting on your experiences. Regularly take time to reflect on what you've learned from both successes and failures. As we delve into today's topic, think about how these principles apply to your own journey. Reflect on how self-awareness not only aids your personal growth, but also enhances your ability to lead effectively. Whether you're whether you're setting personal goals or navigating group dynamics, understanding yourself is crucial for self-leadership and making a meaningful impact. The development of self for leadership is about knowing yourself deeply, continuously growing, and remaining authentic. These traits not only improve your leadership skills, but also inspire others to trust and follow you. I'll now hand you over to my colleague.
Hi everyone, I will be doing strengths and weaknesses. Before we start, I would like to share one of my strengths and one of my weaknesses with you. I would say one of my strengths is that I would refuse to let anyone sway me from doing what my beliefs that my parents would have grown me up with, try to deter me or make me feel guilty of standing on the right side instead of doing what is wrong. And one of my weaknesses, I would say, would be my social and emotional skills. Those are areas in my life that I need to work on. And before we begin, I would like to ask if anyone in the class is feeling comfortable enough and they would like to share one of their strengths or weaknesses with us. Crickets. Um, Mr. Utley, thank you for your participation.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, I would say one of my strengths is communication. I'm good at talking. As for weaknesses, I would say I procrastinate a lot. That's one of my biggest weaknesses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Utley, for your participation. Next slide, please. So in strengths and weaknesses, we are going to talk about three topics: identifying your passion and strengths, developing your talents, and managing your weakness. Knowing yourself and being able to recognize your own strengths and weaknesses can help you to become a better individual in whatever you choose to do. Whether it be a positive ability and skill that you can achieve your own goals or a negative personal area that needs improvement. Overestimating on your strengths can become a weakness. Also, some of the things that you may consider weaknesses may be viewed as strengths by others. Leadership, self-awareness grows when you can identify your personal strengths and weaknesses in working with others towards change. Identifying your passion. Clifton Nelson said, Clifton and Nelson suggests that you pay attention to the things you see others do and your inner mind saying, oh, I would love to try that. Sometimes it's hard to identify strengths. Listen for the times you say, I feel good that I have accomplished something. So these are some of the things that he decide that some strategies that you should try. Listen to yourself when you have done something well, even if no one else notices. Identify the satisfaction you felt when knowing something you did was terrific and gives you a feeling of being well done. Know that things you find easy to learn quick, organize it, like example, organizing lab reports, talking to strangers, mastering a new computer technology, reading to a potentially small child. Study your success or for clues, excellence, for a glimpse of what you can for what you can exceed in, for what things you have done well, whether giving a speech or helping someone to feel special. By examining whatever your success have been, you will discover what you can do well. And the last one, he said that think about your patience of excellence. When you can sing every words of a song you like, when you are able to grasp the deeper meaning in a complicated class lecture, when you practice a skill, whether it's cooking or playing basketball or public speaking, and you feel it improve each time you do it, clues to your strengths are all around you. Identifying and labeling them can affirm your confidence and self-esteem by acknowledging that you do bring reliable talents to situation and contribute to the leaderships of a cause. Developing your talents. Too often, we believe our best strategies to grow and develop is to improve our weakness. One of the greatest assets of human is being talented. Everyone has their talent. Knowing yourself well includes knowing your talent. The things you are naturally good at. Effective leaders know what they do best and apply their strengths in all aspects of their lives. Trying to fix your weaknesses take away from your ability to lead and work from our talents and strengths. There's not enough time in our lifespan to fix every weakness or try to transform our weaknesses into strengths. Instead, you should be aware of those things that you do not do well and find ways to manage them so that you can be more productive and feel more fulfilled. Think about what you do best. Think about how you felt when you accomplished recognition for a job well done. Motivation and a boosted self-esteem can help your talents to continue to grow by enjoying what you love. Managing your weaknesses. Learning to manage your weaknesses is important. Some individuals believe that weaknesses can be removed, but they cannot be transformed into strength. The goal here is to manage weaknesses so that strengths can be free to develop and become so powerful that they make your weaknesses look irrelevant. A person can either manage weakness so by repressing it, other strengths or overcome them and turn them into strengths. Everyone cope with weaknesses in different ways. Don't be afraid to tackle them directly. Think of a solution that suits you best. Try to prevent your weaknesses from blocking your strengths. Assessing your strengths and weaknesses is critical to self-awareness. I will now pass you on to my colleague Kelly.
So I would like to start off with a quote from John W. Gardner. He said, "Leaders come in many forms with many styles and diverse qualities. They are quiet leaders and leaders one can hear in the next county. Some find strength in eloquence, some in judgment, and some in courage." John William Gardner was a Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare under President Lyndon Johnson. He was a strong advocate for citizen participation and founded Common Cause. He became known as the father of campaign finance reform. So before we dive into the topic esteem and confidence, how would you say you think and feel about yourself? Can anyone tell me? Oh, okay. Would anyone say they are self-confidence? Okay, so how you think and feel about yourself is the energy that fuels your motivation. Self-concept is how we objectively describe ourselves. Usually it is based on our roles and attributes. You might say, I am a mother of a 2-year-old and like to go with the flow, keeping my options open. Or I am an older than typical student with above average intelligence and high motivation. Or I am a creative person with musical abilities. Self-esteem is the subject element of how you feel about yourself. For example, you might say, I am a creative person with musical abilities, but I'm unskilled and socially and uncomfortable around those in authority. I feel proud of my musical and creative skills and feel disappointed in myself for not being more socially skilled. Self awareness would lead to having an accurate self concept. Honoring your strengths and addressing your weaknesses are essential first steps toward higher self esteem. Self esteem is enhanced if you can identify your strengths and weaknesses and know that you are growing and progressing in the areas you want to improve. High self esteem is a result of valuing your self concept. Low self esteem may mean you expect something better or feel different than you feel. You may have a 3.3 grade point average as a biology major, have a group of supportive friends, and have just been elected vice president of your campus chapter of Amnesty International. You may feel proud and have high regard for those accomplishments. If, however, you are working for a 3.9 because you want to go to medical school, you may feel bad about your grades and have low self esteem about your academic ability. Self confidence is the ability to know that you can rely on your strengths, competencies, and skills in the many contexts in which you find yourself. Some people consistently do well in whatever they do, but they are never sure they can do well and therefore have low self confidence. Perhaps self confident people have better memories and know that they have done well before and can do so again. Accepting ourselves is perhaps one of the hardest life tasks. Realizing that you cannot change some things about yourself is a step towards higher self esteem. For example, you will not become 6'2" if you are now 5'6". You will not become another race, change your siblings, or get rid of your freckles. You can, however, learn new skills and add to your knowledge base. If some aspects of yourself are negative influences on your self esteem, you must differentiate between those you can actually do something about and those you just need to think about differently, which can lead to a higher level of self-acceptance. Perceiving things differently is called cognitive reframing, a different way of thinking. You may have felt bad when thinking about your personality as shy and quiet, but you might feel empowered to frame those same characteristics as thoughtful and reflective. Reflecting on her own youth, singer actress Bette Midler said, I didn't belong as a kid, and that always bothered me. If only I'd known that one day my differentness would be an asset, then my earlier life would have been much easier. This was cited in a quotable woman. Now pass you on to my colleague, Chanel.
Yes. I again, the way I am going to do understanding myself. Understanding yourself. What makes you the way you are? How much are you doing? How much of your perceptions, values, and temperament, personality, and motives comes from the way you were raised, the influence of your surroundings, your contextual environment? How much of the way how much of the way you are is inborn or genetic? We all have a unique soul purpose and are here to express that in the only way that we can. Understanding oneself is having insight into one's own behavior, attitudes, strengths, and weaknesses. Self understanding is one of the highest goals in psychology. Becoming aware of the influence of either nature in your own development is essential to understanding yourself. Regardless of how you came to be the way that you are, you have intentionally choose to develop desired traits or skills. Although you cannot always change the way that others view you because they bring their own bias and attributions, you can at least be your most authentic self and try to be the person that you would like to be. I would now pass you on to my colleague.
Okay, so before we begin discussing factors that shape your identity, can anyone tell me what do you think influence your characteristics and personality?
Hi, good night.
Hi, good night.
I'm guessing it would be the things that you like or enjoy doing, or things that you
Possibly,
feel
yeah.
comfortable doing, things that come naturally to
Yeah,
you, maybe.
yeah, it could be. Possibly.
I would say
Self-disgusting.
environment, your environment.
That's a good answer, yeah. Anyone else?
I would
Okay,
mainly
yeah.
say your upbringing.
Sorry, I didn't hear you too good.
You hearing me?
Yeah,
I suggested your upbringing.
okay, that's a good answer as well. Okay, so several central salient characteristics have probably made you the person you are and the person you will become as you age. Consider how your ethnic, racial, or cultural background has made a difference and shaped the way you are. How do you believe or behave differently because you're a man or a woman? How does your age influence your interests and views? Do you have specific abilities or disabilities that shape your perceptions or skills? How has your birth order position in your family influenced your development? What political controls do you have that bring responsibilities that shape your decisions? Being a son or a daughter, a volunteer, a parent, an office manager, a Sunday school teacher, or an athlete? How has your sense of spirituality shaped your worldview? How important is religion in guiding your thinking? How has your family's socio-economic status influenced your development and your views of leadership? Individuals may do things differently because they are male or female, old or young, Irish Catholic, Jewish, or Muslim. Mapping your personal context must include many elements that contribute to your sense of identity. We believe the capacity for leadership is within each of you. As we learned previously, many observers of leadership agree that leaders are made, not born, and that everyone has a leader within. Meaningful interaction and effective leadership processes can result if individuals are aware of their own motivations and where others are coming from. The leader within you may be willing to assume positional leadership roles or may be more comfortable with active participant roles. Either way, within you is a capacity to make a difference. Now I'm passing on to Ria.
Values and beliefs. Can anyone give me an answer to what they think are values and beliefs? Anyone? No one? Okay, so values are core principles of what standards or standards that guide behavior and decision making. Beliefs are personal convictions or acceptance that something is true or real, which shape our values. Together, they form a moral compass that influences how we approach leadership challenges and opportunities. Value determines how we act, while beliefs form the foundation of these values. For example, if you believe in fairness, you might value equality, which guides your decisions. Clear values and beliefs ensure that your decisions are principled and consistent, reflecting your core convictions. Next slide. In understanding leadership, it's crucial to recognize that our values and beliefs shape how we make decisions and interact with others. A great example of contrasting values and beliefs can be seen in the adventures. Next slide. And we will be focusing on two main characters from the movie Captain America and Iron Man. So Captain America believes in the inherent goodness of people and the importance of following moral principles, which is why he valued justice, teamwork, and doing what's right for the greater good. Iron Man, on the other hand, believes in personal freedom and the power of innovation, which leads him to value efficiency, autonomy, and progress. These values drive their respective value systems and influence their leadership styles. Captain America's belief in moral righteousness shapes his values around sacrifice and tradition, while Iron Man's belief in progress and pragmatism shapes his focus on quick solutions and innovation. Like these characters, each of us has a unique set of beliefs that form the foundation of our values and guide our decisions. So I have a few questions to ask you guys, and you just have to raise your hand. So my first question will be, raise your hand if you consider yourself more of a logical thinker when making decisions. Okay, 2 persons so far. Anyone else? Okay, my second question. Now raise your hand if you rely more on your emotions and instincts. Okay, and my last question. How many of you feel that you have a clear understanding of what are your core values? Okay, 2 persons. Anyone else? Okay, the reason I ask those questions is because each question has its own meaning. The first and second questions reflect on your decision-making style, whether you lean more towards logic and reasoning or emotions and instincts. It symbolizes the binary nature of leadership approaches and personal values. Some people approach leadership with a logical, analytical mindset like Iron Man, while others might rely more on emotional intelligence or instincts, like Captain America. It highlights that both approaches are valid and each reflects different values or leadership styles. My last question is designed to encourage everyone to self-reflect on their level of self-awareness concerning their values and check whether everyone has explored their internal beliefs and how that shapes their leadership and interactions with others. Next slide. Now we'll talk about authenticity and trust of values and beliefs. A leader's authenticity comes from acting in line with their values and beliefs. When leaders consistently uphold their principles, it builds trust and credibility among their followers. Even if others disagree with their decisions, if a leader is known for a solid value system grounded in integrity and authenticity, they cannot be faulted for their character. Sorry. This reflects a measure of integrity and highlights how values can drive reactions to ethical dilemmas or conflicts. Additionally, understanding your own values and beliefs and recognizing those of others is crucial in handling conflicts. Disagreements, of, Disagreements often stem from different perspectives or priorities. By grasping these underlying values, you can find common ground and work towards a shared purpose for effectively. I'll now hand you over to my colleague Kelly.
Okay, so I'll be discussing character and ethical behavior. Can anyone tell me what you think the traits are of a person of character? Anybody? Yeah. Does anybody think your relationships influence your character traits? Raise your hand if you think your relationships affect it. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay, so integrity in relationships is central to the value systems needed among people working together towards change. Authenticity is rooted in action that is both true and real in ourselves and in the world. Whether framed as integrity, authenticity, or credibility, the very core of your character is central to sincerely linking with others in the spirit of community to work toward change. When asked what leadership qualities he looked for in the leaders in the U.S. Army, Desert Storm's retired General Norman said probably far more important to me than competence was character, integrity, ethics, and morality. I looked for people who were willing to serve a cause and were what I would call selfless leaders rather than self-serving leaders. Evan Fogelman said, trust has been crucial in my relationship with others. If I don't think I can trust someone, then I won't pursue a relationship with the person. I think trust has to be earned through consistency and honesty. In building relationships with others, I try to never lie and always be there for the person. Being faithful to a person breaks down barriers and builds trust. Being trustworthy also makes others feel like you are someone they can follow without trust. I don't think a meaningful relationship is possible without trust. Does anyone agree with that statement? Raise your hands. Okay, great. So a person of character promotes ethical decision making and expects ethical behavior from others. Judge Josephson Institute of Ethics proposes 6 pillars of character that are enduring and indispensable to ethical leadership practices. These pillars are trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Trustworthiness is far more than telling the truth. Being worthy of trust means being honest, demonstrating integrity, keeping promises, and being loyal. It means being known for standing up for your own convictions. Respect means that you treat others considerately, not that you admire or agree with all their views or behavior. Being respectful is a commitment to treating others in ways that you do not demean or take advantage of them. Responsibility means accepting accountability for your own actions and being conscious of the moral and ethical implications of deciding not to act. Being responsible means being accountable, pursuing excellence, and exercising self restraint. Fairness is working toward an equitable outcome. Being fair means being open minded and willing to listen, and confronting your own biases that might influence your decisions. Caring means your awareness of being concerned for each person's well being and your attention to not being hurtful. Care requires empathy and kindness. Citizenship is a civic virtue of knowing that as a member of your community, you have responsibilities to do your part to contribute to the well being of the group. Citizenship means you are willing to abide by laws and societal obligations. An example of this is after a concert on campus one Friday night, 2 students were counting the ticket sales receipts. The money in the cash drawer was $120 short for the number of tickets sold. Baffled at the difference, the students turned in accounts the next day and presented the problem to the student activities office. That afternoon, a third student came into the office carrying an envelope containing $120. The money had apparently come in during a ticket sales rush and had been set aside instead of being locked in the cash drawer. The office accountant clerk asked her, "Why didn't you just keep the money? No one would have known." The student's quick, indignant reply was, "But I would have known, and I don't do things like that." That student's consciousness of her own value system and commitment to integrity was so embedded that she could not imagine behaving any differently. The trust and respect she earned in her relationships led to an assessment of her character that was above reproach. Another example in the news was when a student volunteer who was helping with the cleanup after Hurricane Katrina found $30,000 in cash in a vacated house and turned the money in to the authorities. So from this, a person of character is trustworthy, treats people with respect, is responsible, is fair, is caring, and is a good citizen. Now pass you on to Ria.
Personal style preferences. What is personal style preferences? So, personal style preferences are the unique ways individuals approach tasks, make decisions, communicate, and interact with others. Next slide. So, these preferences are shaped by a combination of personality traits, values, experiences, and cultural influences. They reflect how we naturally function in the world and influence how others perceive and interact with us. Next slide. Now we'll be speaking on why personal style preferences matters. So I'd like you guys to raise your hand if you ever taken a personality or style assessment. I'm sure all of us had. And you guys could give a thumbs up if it helped you understand yourself better. Okay. So in understanding self-awareness, your personal style preferences is crucial for recognizing how you naturally approach situations, your strengths and areas for improvement. As a Trinidadian saying goes, what do hear, who do hear does feel. If you don't reflect on your behavior, you eventually face consequences. Without self-awareness, you risk misjudging situations or repeating mistakes. When you're self-aware, you can better control your reactions and grow from experiences. This awareness helps you improve as a leader and communicator, while also understanding how others perceive your actions. Self-awareness builds empathy and emotional intelligence, both key for effective leadership. Second, effective communication. So, a show of hands, who here prefers written communication like emails or texts over face-to-face conversations and phone calls? Okay. Understanding your style allows you to tailor your communication for various situations. If you know you prefer directions, for instance, you can soften your tone when talking to someone who values a more sensitive approach. Recognizing that others communicate differently helps you avoid miscommunication and create stronger connections. By adapting your communication style, you become a better listener and speaker, which builds rapport and trust. Effective communication bridges the gap between intentions and perception, reducing misunderstandings. Thirdly, leadership and teamwork. So who here enjoys working in terms of collaborating in teams and collaborating closely? Only one person. So I'm guessing everyone else likes to do their work independently. Okay, you can put your hands down now. Leaders who understand their style can lead authentically by leveraging their strengths and being mindful of their weaknesses. Additionally, in a team setting, knowing everyone's style allows for better role assignments, increasing productivity and a deeper understanding of how to work together. Recognizing that people have different working styles, some are more collaborative while others prefer autonomy, helps in creating balanced teams when everyone's contribution is respected. This understanding also helps leaders foster an environment of psychological safety where differences are embraced. Our fourth point, conflict resolution. Conflict is inevitable, but people handle it in various ways. Some might address issues head on, while others prefer a more diplomatic approach. Knowing these tendencies allows for better meditation and conflict resolution strategies, as you can approach the situation in a way that resonates with the people involved. Understanding personal style preferences in conflict resolution helps prevent understandings from escalating. Leaders who are aware of these dynamics can facilitate discussions that respect different approaches to resolving disagreements. Decision making. Your decision making style is influenced by whether you rely more on data, on logic, or intuition and emotions. Knowing this helps you make decisions that are balanced, especially when working with teams who might have different approaches. This diversity of decision making styles often leads to more comprehensive and well rounded outcomes. Leaders who are aware of their decision making style are more equipped to leverage diverse inputs from their team, resulting in more innovative solutions. A leader who uses both data and intuition can adapt their approach based on the situation, enhancing problem solving. Adaptability. While it's essential to understand your style, adaptability allows you to adjust to the demands of a situation or to the people you're working with. Being, being flexible ensures that you can lead or participate effectively in any setting, even when the situation or the team dynamics change. Adaptability is a critical leadership trait because it ensures you can strive in unpredictable environments. Leaders who can step outside their preferred style to meet the needs of their team or situation demonstrate reliance and resourcefulness. Cultural awareness. Cultural heavily influences personal style preferences, whether it's communication, leadership, or decision-making styles. Being culturally aware allows you to respond and work more effectively in diverse teams, understanding how different backgrounds shape behavior and preferences. Cultural awareness also fosters inclusivity and respect in leadership. Leaders who recognize cultural influences are better equipped to create environments where everyone feels valued and understood, which boosts morale and productivity. Job satisfaction and career choices. When you align your career or role with your personal style preferences, you're more likely to find fulfillment and excel. For example, if you enjoy independent work, like most of us here, choosing a role that requires consistent collaboration might feel draining and vice versa. Leaders who align their team members' strengths and preferences with their roles can boost job satisfaction and performance. Employees who feel that their personal style is respected are more engaged and committed to their work. Personal and professional growth. So think about one area where you've had to push yourself out of your comfort zone and what had helped you to grow. Understanding your personal style allows you to identify areas where you might need growth. For example, if you prefer to work independently, but your roles demand more collaboration, you can develop skills that are in that area to balance your strengths and weaknesses. Growth is about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone while also acknowledging where your strengths lie. Leaders who are aware of their development areas are better equipped to continuously improve and lead effectively. And lastly, building authentic leadership. Leading with authenticity means knowing your personal style and staying true to it. Authentic leaders are more likely to inspire inspire trust and loyalty because people value leaders who are consistent and transparent in their actions and decisions. Authentic leadership also builds a culture of trust within teams. When people see that a leader is genuine and not pretending to be something they're not, it fosters an environment where everyone feels safe to be themselves. In conclusion, personal style preferences are not just about self awareness, they're about enhancing your ability to work effectively with others, whether in leadership, communication, or teamwork. Knowing your style and being adaptable leads to more successful outcomes and stronger relationships. Recognizing the diversity of preferences around you promotes collaboration and mutual respect. I'll now hand you over to my colleague Kelly. Sorry, Chanel.
Hi, I will be doing personality types. And for the personality types, I was going to speak about the four topics that you're seeing on the screen. Before we begin, can you show by a show of hands, can anybody say who identify themselves as an introvert? Thank you. And what about those who identify as an extroverts? No extroverts in the class? Well, okay.
Hi, Chanel. If you're speaking, we're not hearing you, okay?
My apologies, sir. Thank you. So, psychological types. How humans adapt to the world around them is different because of personality preferences. You are so accustomed to the way that you view things, get things done, interact, and make decisions that perhaps you cannot imagine yourself doing it differently. These four functions include how we relate to the world, how we perceive the world, make decisions, and judgments. These combinations describe where we get our energy, how we gather information from the world around us, how we prefer to process that information, and how we prefer to make the decisions. The first of these four functions concern our modes of relating to the world. These are different between those who are oriented to the outer world, extroverts, and those who prefer the inner world, introverts. Extroverts are oriented to the outer world. They get energy from being around people. They are sociable, confident, and like thinking out loud and making and talking with others. While extroverts are more oriented to the inner world of their own feelings and ideas. Introverts prefer to think things through and reflect before forming or stating their opinions. They gain energy by creating a private space. Do you guys who are introverts or extroverts agree with the statement that was made?
Yes.
Yeah. The second co-functions covers the preference for perceiving the world around you, sensing and intuiting. Sensing people might say, if it is not broken, don't fix it. Whereas intuitive people may say it has to be a better way. Then people whose sense rely on their five senses and prefer to create facts and details being very practical and realistic, perceiving the present or past to the abstraction of the future. Does that relate to anyone in the class? Can anyone relate with it? Thank you, Mr. Otley. Intuiting. People prefer to look at the bigger picture and like to see things as a whole. They are innovative and use their imagination to develop many possibilities. Intuitive people like to project into the future, living in anticipation of how things can be better, improved, and changed. Does that relate to anyone in the classroom? Thank you. The third core function is the mode of judging, thinking, or feeling. Those who prefer thinking use logical and rationality. The head rules rather than the heart. Thinking approaches through critical thinking, analysis, and reliance on the objective scientific method are rewarded in school systems. And feeling, people prefer to make judgment that accounts for relationships and the importance of human values and beliefs, and with emphasis on personal friendship. Those who prefer feeling may think that those who prefer thinking to be cool and too objective, whereas thinkers may think that people who like feelings are too emotional and able to stand firm on making a decision. Anyone agree with that statement? Thumbs up, no? Thank you. And the last one, the fourth core function involves how we prefer to make decisions by judging or perceiving. Those who like to judge prefer order and emphasize resolving issues and making decisions to create order. People who use judging preference like tying up loose ends and seeking closure. They like clear beginnings, deadlines, and endings. Receiving people prefer to keep things open-ended by gathering as much information as possible and being flexible. People with receiving preference handle ambiguity well, are known to go with the flow, and are comfortable leaving things open-ended or unresolved. Those with judging preferences may seem close-minded or driven, and those with perceiving preference may seem unfocused and have a hard time getting things done. We each have developed preferences of how we are most comfortable perceiving the world and how we judge it. Now, I will pass you on to my colleague, Kelly.
Okay, so I'll be discussing approaches to learning. So knowing your personality preferences can help determine your approaches to learning. Can anyone tell me how well they think they respond to change? Yes, Danielle, how well do you think you respond to change?
Well, I think I'm pretty comfortable with change. I don't have an issue with change. So I would say I respond pretty well.
Okay, that's great. Anyone else?
I would say it depends on how drastic the change is, because if it's a minor change, then I think I would be able to adapt, but a major change, not so sure if I'd be able to cope with it as much.
Okay, that's understandable. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I have similar feelings. I think depending on what the change is. Most of them, once it's not too light and emotionally threatening, I think I'll be okay.
Okay.
But if it's something very dire, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's understandable. Okay. So one of the elements of leadership is its focus on accomplishing something or changing something. How individuals understand the need for change and how effectively individuals and groups can adapt to change is a learning process. Human beings go through a continual process of adaptation to changing conditions, whether those conditions are imposed or induced. There are leading applications of the Jungian types presented as personality preferences in the previous section. If you are extroverted, you are likely to enjoy group learning tasks, projects, learn readily from group discussion, and think aloud as you respond to questions and comments in the group. Extroverts value experience and often leap into academic tasks with little planning. They prefer trial and error process because it allows them to think while they are active. If you're an introvert, you listen keenly and find you carry on a great dialogue in your head. You might prefer to keep a journal on probably you do well with written assignments when there is time to reflect. When something important comes up, you prefer to think about it first and not jump to a hasty conclusion. If you're a sensing learner, you like details and facts, and you might prefer inductive thinking. You value the history and background of an issue to establish the context to learn about it. If you're an intuitive learner, you like the big picture and do not retain the small details well. You may be quick to jump to conclusions with little information. You like possibility thinking and you cast a wide net to gather a great deal of information from diverse sources. The sensing or intuition preference may relate to a preference for either deductive or inductive ways of thinking. Being deductive means you like to see the big picture and know what the final outcome is likely to be or what the whole is, and then you are comfortable looking at the parts and pieces. You like to see the forest before you examine all the trees. If you are inductive, you like to build up to the big picture or conclusion by assembling all the parts and evolving your conclusion. You prefer to see each tree before you stand back and see the forest. A deductive learner might be frustrated with an inductive learner and say, where in the world are you going with this argument? Can you just get to your point? Understanding the difference in approach, that same deductive learner might say, it will help me to know where this is going so I can fit your examples into the bigger picture. Think of the classes or organizations you know that are made up of one predominant type. Often, a major will attract students who are more similar than different. If, however, you're mismatched in learning style, you may wonder why the group does not readily see the benefits of your suggestions or perhaps even rejects a process you propose. Groups that may be composed of one predominant type of learning preference will find strength in including other approaches to enrich the outcome. Highly diverse groups of learners need to acknowledge that people learn differently and offer options and choices that will appeal to the diversity within a group. For example, student government organizers who are planning a retreat during which goals and plans for the year are to be set might send out materials ahead of time, plan large group presentations, plan small group discussions, and plan case study applications. Also, they might work through how a possible goal might be put into an action plan with a related budget. This would be useful to the censors and judges. If only one approach were used, it would relate less well to the entire group. It is clearly helpful to know your own preferred learning style and understand how others may prefer to learn differently. Preferences in how we take in information, relate to others, make decisions, and learn are all essential areas of awareness in relational leadership. These applications of Jung's principles may help you explore your own personality and attitudes in new ways. So, just to recap, we have discussed some important aspects of your self awareness that become key points to understanding yourself as a participant and as a leader. We also explored ways to examine your strengths and weaknesses with the goal of developing your talent and having a realistic self-concept with healthy self-esteem and self-confidence. We then reviewed basic values that are essential in a person of character. Building on psychological and educational approaches to leadership represented some models to assess your personality preferences and your learning preferences. So these are our references. So that will be the end of our presentation. I hope you all learned some things to help you understand yourself more and develop your skills as an individual and leader. Are there any further questions before we close off? No? Okay. Thank you for your time and participating.